Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. So welcome to this brief introduction to SVTS Learning. We put this together to mainly inform people who are joining us for the first time, who have joined the Telegram group, or in other ways have started to follow some of our classes but may not be aware of the full breadth of our offerings. So very briefly, SVTS Learning is one initiative of the Sri Vidya Temple Society or the Rajarajeswari Peetham. The temple has always been about teaching and learning. It is often called the teaching temple. Over the past 3 years, we have tried to make some of these more formal in the form of programs such as Bāla Vidyā, youth learning sessions, and so on, which I will talk about in brief. The mission of the temple is to propagate and explain Sanatana Dharma, Sri Vidya, and Siva Siddhanta. Again, it's only through the blessings of our Guru lineage that this has been possible. And when Haranaya or Chaitanyananda set up this temple, the Guru Dakshina that his Guru, Sri Amritananda, asked of him is that he make this knowledge of Sri Vidya, of Sanatana Dharma, available to everyone at no cost. And the entire temple is essentially founded on that basic initiative, that premise. And SVTS Learning is just one aspect of that. I'll quickly touch upon the different programs that we offer. Bāla Vidyā is a program targeting children in the age group of 5 to 12. And the idea is to introduce Sanatana Dharma to young ones through storytelling and fun-filled hands-on activities. This happens roughly once a month as part of our monthly learning weekends. The details and the registration information is included in that email. These are some pictures from Bāla Vidyā. You can see children and some of our leads who are working together on various learning activities, learning the basics of our Puranas, of different characters from our mythology, and some elements of puja and so on. Vibhuti Saivite Immersion or VSI is our unique summer youth program. It's a residential program which is now in its 16th year. This was initiated by Ayya with the view of inculcating in youth the basic understanding of Sanatana Dharma, of not just the philosophy but also some of the practical aspects such as the ritualistic elements, some of the temple traditions, some of the temple arts and crafts. So in this residential program, children are exposed to all of these and more. This is targeted at children the age group of 10 to 18. It is very limited in capacity, and it's announced in January usually. The program itself is in the end of July or early August, but it's announced in January of that year and it fills up very quickly. So the VSI program for 2020 has just been announced and is filling up rapidly. There is a separate mailing list called the Camp News mailing list that you can subscribe to. If you're on the temple general mailing list, you will not get these updates. So you will have to go and sign up for the Camp News mailing list in order to get information about VSI. Youth learning sessions targets a similar age group but a slightly older age group, so 13 to 26. It's meant to be more of a deep dive into Sanatana Dharma. It is meant for youth who are already exposed to it, maybe through VSI, and now want to take the next step and dig deeper. YLS happens 1 weekend a month on average. And again, we have these monthly learning weekends, and we tend to pack all of our learning offerings into these weekends. So you have Bāla Vidyā and youth learning sessions often happening on the same weekends. And just like VSI, the youth learning sessions offer classes, seva opportunities, and participation in regular temple pujas and activities. The unique thing about SVTS Learning is that it's part of a functioning temple. So we take full advantage of that, and all of our learning activities are intertwined with the temple's regular activities. This is also residential for those who want it. So it is just a weekend. Some children come and stay over the weekend. Others just come, especially the locals, come for the day. The details of this program and registration links are in the same learning weekend emails which you will receive if you're subscribed to the general mailing list. These are some pictures from YLS. Again, you can see children getting together for musical activities, for classes, to learn the basics of puja. And these, both VSI and YLS, lead to lifelong friendships. And these friendships and these peer relationships go a long way in fostering interest in Sanatana Dharma and maintaining that interest over the years. And a lot of these young people grow up to be temple volunteers. And that was one of the principal motivations for Ayya to set up these programs. We also have Sanskrit chanting classes. These are not very formal. They are conducted by some of the devotees in the temple. And they meet in the temple library most Saturdays from 3 to 4 p.m. The classes cover Vedic Suktams, Stotram such as Lalita Sahasranamam or Khatgamala Stotram. There is no registration required. The details and the live stream links are posted to the Telegram group just before the class every Saturday. We also conduct workshops from time to time. And these are typically Ayya talking about some particular topic. And he tends to go in depth. So it's typically half a day or even a full day workshop on a particular topic. Recent topics that have been covered include Yantra Puja, the effect of the planets or the Navagrahas, the why and the how of worship, the scientific and spiritual aspects of mantras and pujas. Then we also have the classes. Classes are offerings which target adults. These could be adults who are completely new to Sanatana Dharma, completely new to the ritualistic practices, or they could be adepts or advanced seekers who are already familiar with pujas and now want to learn advanced pujas, which is whether it's yantra pujas, Sri Chakra puja, and so on. The classes are largely based on suggestions we receive from all of you. We conduct a survey at the end of every year where we invite suggestions. Another source of inspiration for classes is the different themes or different topics that Ayya emphasizes in the temple. For instance, in 2019, there was a big emphasis from Ayya on Yantra Pujas. Navaratri was themed around Yantra Pujas. There was a different Yantra Puja every day of Navaratri. There was also a workshop that Ayya conducted on Yantra Pujas. So accordingly, we have also started to offer classes on Yantra Pujas. Ganapati and Shama Yantra Puja were covered last year. And this year we hope to cover Bāla Yantra Puja and maybe a couple more. All of these classes are conducted at the temple, either in the temple library or in the temple cabin, sometimes outdoors if the weather is nice in the summer. And they're typically streamed live as well. So there are a few classes which are only conducted in person, but almost all of our classes are now available online because one of the major objectives of SVTS Learning is to reach people who are unable to come to the temple in person. All of our classes are recorded and archived for future access. So now I will give you a short tour of our website and show you how you can access some of these class archives. I will also show you the learning calendar that we put out every year. So we have just released a 2020 learning calendar. And I will also say a little bit about how you register for classes and how you navigate our classrooms. So this is the current temple website, and right on top you will see in the main menu something called learning, and that is really the launch point into all of the different offerings. In this sub-menu you will see a lot of the programs that I just mentioned, such as the youth learning sessions, Bāla Vidyā, the summer youth camp or VSI, and various other learning resources. But one of the important things on this page is you will find information about completed classes. So you will see links to the class calendar from 2017, 2018, and from last year, 2019. So if you click on any of these links, you will be taken to the learning calendar for that year. And you can see that in 2017, we offered classes. There was a class on Yantra Puja, an introduction to Homam, and you will see youth learning sessions and Bāla Vidyā programs as well. There was a class on Ganapati Tarpanam, and so on. So these are how different programs get scheduled in our calendar. And when there is a class that's completed, you will see that there is a way to register for that class. Even though it's completed, you can register to access archived class content and the video recordings of that class. So that is one way to access archived classes. You can also go directly to this link. This is a listing of all of our completed classes. So this gets updated as and when new classes are conducted and completed. For example, take the class we did on Sri Chakra Aksharamala meditation. So you can get to more details of this class. This is the description of the class. It tells you what the class is about, the original schedule of the class, topics covered, some of the prerequisites, the format of the class, and it tells you a little bit about the instructor for that class. Then if you look at the registration link, this takes you to a registration form. And these are the links that we also send out as part of our monthly emails about upcoming classes. Typically, they will lead to registration forms like this, where you can provide your details, you can specify your name, email address, tell us how you will take the class, whether it's in person or online. And classes may have some prerequisites. Some classes may require mantra diksha, they may require familiarity with puja, and all of our classes are free, but we do request that learning materials be reserved for your own use. So that's an example of registration form. Now, once you register for a class, you will get an email with something called a class code, and that is something you want to preserve. Very often we get queries from devotees or people who have tried to register for classes, but they have not noticed the class code in that email. And I will talk about why this class code is important. But before I get to that, let me just get through the 2020 calendar as well. So the 2020 calendar is accessible here, as well as if you go to learning, you can directly access it from here. So again, you will see a number of different classes. Introduction to SVTS Learning is the session that we are doing right now. But you can also see that we have other classes planned throughout the year. You will see that they're clustered into these weekends. We call these learning weekends. So typically on the same weekend, we will have some kind of a class for adults, the youth learning session for youth, Bāla Vidyā for children. So this is the February learning weekend, which is this weekend. Then you have the March weekend, the April weekend, and so on. So you will see that all of our offerings are clustered into these weekends, which typically happen once a month. Now, one more thing to note is that some of these classes, which are in this case marked in red, require initiation. And this is something we get a lot of questions about. Why is it that some classes require initiation into certain mantras? So if you take this particular one, for instance, Bāla Yantra Puja, this is going to be about how to perform puja to a Bāla Yantra, and it requires Sri Vidya initiation into the Bāla mantra, as well as familiarity with puja. So the idea of initiation, which the Sanskrit word for that is diksha, is not to keep certain knowledge out of the hands of people. That is exactly the opposite of the mission of this temple. This temple has been set up and is driven by the sole mission of making this knowledge available to people. So why do you need diksha for certain classes? There are two reasons. The first of them is some of these classes involve certain practices. Take Yantra Puja, for instance, or doing Aksharamala Japam. These practices are best attempted once you have a guru, because a guru is somebody who can provide guidance in case you experience something very unique or different, because the experience of these different practices can vary widely from individual to individual based on each person's prior karma. Therefore, the presence of a guru to guide them, to tell them what to do when something happens, is important. And the guru is also the one who protects the devotee from any harm that might come. It's always possible that some devotee gets carried away and overdoes a particular practice or does it incorrectly. So the protection of the guru and the protection of the guru parampara is very important in those instances. And that is why we recommend having diksha for certain practices and certain classes. There are other classes, for example, this one on Nitya Puja, which introduces the basics of performing Pancha Upachara Puja or Shodacha Upachara Puja. This does not require any sort of diksha or any initiation. This is open to everyone. The other reason for diksha, or specific diksha, so here, for example, we've specifically said you need Bāla Diksha. There may be another class here, which is Introduction to Sri Chakra Homam, which requires Panchadashi Diksha. The idea here is that some of these practices are tied to certain mantras. So Sri Chakra Puja, Sri Chakra Homam is tied to the Panchadashakshari mantra. Bāla Yantra Puja is tied to the Bāla mantra. So some of these practices are only fruitful if you've already been doing japam of the corresponding mantra for a while. So if you've been doing Bāla mantra japam, then Sri Chakra Puja, which requires Panchadashi, may not be very effective. On the other hand, Bāla Yantra Puja may be very effective for somebody like that. So that's the other reason. It's not about can I get diksha so that I can attend this class. It's really about having diksha to a certain mantra and doing that mantra japam for a while until it starts to have an effect on your system. Then attending a class like this and learning an advanced practice like a Yantra Puja might actually be beneficial. Otherwise, it's not going to be very useful. So those are a couple of reasons why we require diksha for some classes. If you have questions about this, you can always reach out to us. Now let me show you how to navigate the classroom. So like I already mentioned to you, once you register for a certain class using the registration form, you will in your email receive something called a class code. Now using this class code, you can access our classrooms. We are currently using Google Classroom. It's a technology which allows us to compartmentalize each class, to create a separate environment for each class. In the absence of this, essentially, if we had all of the classes and all of the materials shared in one single WhatsApp group or Telegram group, then it will become very hard for anyone to navigate that group. That's the reason we have this classroom software, and it looks like this. So this is what Google Classroom looks like. You can navigate using your web browser on a laptop to this URL, classroom.google.com. Or if you have a smartphone application or on your tablet device, you can download the Google Classroom app from the App Store. Either way is fine. You will find a button here to create or join a class. Typically it's join a class. So when you join a class, you will be asked for that class code which you received via email. Once you enter that class code, that particular class will show up in your dashboard. In my case, all of the different classes that we have offered are shown here. Now once you are here, you can click into a certain class. For example, this class is on Introduction to Sri Chakra Puja. You click into that. You will see here different tabs. One is called Stream, and that's where all of the class related communication happens. So this is where the instructors can post messages, or we as the coordinators can post messages, and you can actually respond. If you have a question, if you have a comment, you can actually post your questions and comments here, and we monitor these questions, we monitor these comments, and we respond to them either during or after the class. Then there's the classwork tab, which has all of the course materials. So here you can see various documents. These are all PDFs, and we will also post the links. So here you will see these YouTube live stream links. These are the links to actually watch the class live, and if you visit this link after the class is concluded, you will be able to see a recording of the class. So both for live streaming and for the recording, it's the same link. Here you can see all the classmates, all of your classmates who are attending that class. So this is what Google Classroom, a particular classroom, looks like. And the advantage of this is that it creates a certain environment which the people registered in that class can use to communicate with the instructor or with each other. And it also archives the class automatically. So if you attend this class or you come to this class next year or 2 years later, all of this content and all of this conversation and all of the live stream links are still available to you. So that's the reason we use Google Classroom. I'll show you what the experience looks like on a smartphone. So hopefully you can see this video. So this is what the Google Classroom app on the smartphone looks like. It's very similar, that you can add a class or join a class using the class code. And once you do that, then you will see the full set of classes. This new class that you just registered for will be added here. And very similar to the desktop interface, you have a stream. Here you can see at the bottom, there's a stream tab where you can comment on something. You can add comments to the stream. And this is what we monitor. And if the class is in progress, the comment could be about a technical issue, or it could be a question about the content, but we essentially monitor that. Here you can see the People tab, and this is the most important classwork tab. This is where you go to get all of the class information, the class content. So it's a very similar organization as the browser interface that I showed you before this. And all of this content is available for you to download for your own use. Just showing you a few different documents that were part of the Sri Chakra Puja class that we offered last year. This was an interesting class in that it was not just one session, it was 6 or 7 different sessions. They were streamed live in the middle of the week over a course of 7 weeks from the residence of the Upasaka who was teaching that class. So hopefully this gives you a quick introduction to Google Classroom and gives you the confidence to navigate Google Classroom and start to attend these classes. Okay. Now, we've covered all of these topics, how to register for classes. So please watch out for the emails that come on the regular temple mailing list. They will have a title such as February learning opportunities, March learning opportunities, and the email will have information about the Bāla Vidyā program, the youth learning session, and any classes being offered that weekend. The email will have links for the registration form and for more information about the course, prerequisites such as Diksha, all of that is there. Again, on the topic of Diksha, another question that comes up is, how do I get Diksha? I'm interested in Sri Vidya. How do I get Diksha? So the short answer to that is, please visit the temple and meet with Haranaya. In our temple, he is the one who initiates people. If you're a sincere seeker, then Haranaya has always been very keen to initiate such people into Sri Vidya. If you live in India, then Devipuram is our sister Peetam, and you can definitely visit Devipuram. They have courses in Sri Vidya as well, and Diksha is part of that. So that's another option. If you're interested in Sri Vidya Diksha in our tradition, there are of course many other traditions of Sri Vidya which you can explore. Another question we get is, where do I start? Where do I begin? So I would suggest starting with a course called Introduction to Sri Vidya Practice. This was offered last year, so you can find a link to it from our class archives or from the 2019 class calendar. It was the very first class last year. That provides an overview of the path of Sri Vidya. What are some of the practices, starting from the very basic to the most advanced. And again, it also emphasizes that you don't need Diksha to proceed towards the mother. You have stotrams such as the Lalita Sahasranamam and the Khadgamala Stotram, which do not require Diksha in our tradition and are just as potent as having any kind of mantra Diksha. So that's a good way to get started if you don't have Diksha. If you do have Diksha, then that course outlines the next steps. This is the team that's behind all of the offerings I just mentioned. So my name is Sri Ganesh. I am the learning coordinator, the main learning coordinator at the moment. And Kaushi and Ekta are volunteers helping put together all of these classes. Then for the Bāla Vidyā program, we have Viroshi, Vilas and Kaushi. And for YLS, so the youth learning sessions, Sangha and Anagayan. The VSI summer program is supported by a large number of leads and counselors. Here I've just called out the names of this year's directors in Viroshi, Kumaran and Jailan. And then the chanting classes are conducted by Ekta and myself. We can use a lot of help. This is completely volunteer driven, volunteer run activity. So learning materials are critical, and of late we have started to publish learning materials in Devanagari, in English with diacritics, in Telugu, Kannada, and Tamil with numeric subscripts, so that especially for Sanskrit towns, um, it's important in Tamil to have those subscripts to know exactly how to pronounce. So all of these materials are produced by us, and if you have skills in um, word processing, or you have knowledge of Sanskrit, you can help review documents. That's very useful. Um, and we will also be this year starting to get more into Saiva Siddhantam. So if you have knowledge of that and you have ability to review Tamil documents, that's also a very useful skill. Audio and video editing is something we're not doing enough of, and we want to do more of, is create more audio visual learning materials, especially out of some of the video content and the workshop content that we have from Haranaya. And if you are local to Rochester or can come here, then we can always use help with video recording of different classes and doing editing afterwards. And there are many other ways in which you can get involved. So the best way is visit us at the temple or send us a note. This is also, we don't charge for any of our classes. Our classes are always free, but we do have various expenses. So if you'd like to support SVTS Learning, it is just one aspect of the larger learning mission of the temple as a whole. So this is the URL to go and make a financial contribution. And if you have other questions which we have not answered today, please feel free to reach out to us either via the Telegram group called SVTS Learning or via email. You can sign up for the mailing list at srividya.org/email. That's how you get all of the notifications about upcoming classes. Please do remember to select Camp News if you're interested in news about the VSI summer program. And on the web, our URL is srividya.org/learn. So I'll stop with that. And once again, welcome to SVTS Learning. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.